Welcome to Fear and Greed, the Sunday edition. It's the 6th of February 2022 and I'm Sean Aylmer. Now, today's edition is a bit of a change of pace from the rest of the week when the Fear and Greed team share some of our favourite stories of the week. There have been plenty this week, and as always, I'm joined by the team. Adam Lang, good morning.
Good morning, Sean.
Your household got a new puppy this week, Adam.
We did. She's the new love of the family.
But what I do like is as we get up at 4 a.m, you've often been up a few times already through the night letting the dog out to do a wee.
Little Maggie is not quite 9 weeks, and so she's a very young pup and in a completely new environment. So come nighttime, she's learning to kind of call for help when she needs to go to the toilet.
Why not let it sleep outside? Why not let Maggie sleep outside?
No, mate. No. She's so small that a kookaburra could probably take her away at the moment.
Oh, Michael, I hear you're here too. Mickey T, good morning.
Good morning, Sean.
Are you a dog lover like Adamski's turning into?
Oh, I've decided I'm not a lover of anything that you have to clean up after. So, no, I'm not. I've made the mistake with cats, and now I'm not going to repeat it with dogs. Anything that's got a lifespan of longer than about kind of 6 months, i.e. a goldfish, and I'm out.
I must say we have a dog in the house. I'm always in trouble because I think dogs should live outside. I mean, they're bred to be outside, and people who have dogs inside, I know I'm going to get a lot of criticism for this, and Michael, you and I are on this, but Adam, what has surprised me in the last few days is just how soft you've become about this dog.
Well, I defy you. Look, shortly you both will be coming over to visit, and you can meet young Maggie.
Is this because we missed out on your birthday party?
Are we playing croquet at your...
Hope so.
We still missed out on our Fear and Greed Christmas party, so we're a little behind schedule. But you will meet little Maggie, and we'll see how your hearts melt or don't then.
Okay. Now, Mickey, talking birthdays, you had one during the week.
I did, yes, on Monday, and it was a lovely day. No croquet, though. I'm sorry, Adam. I know that's the typical way that you celebrate a birthday afternoon. But
You've still got time, Michael. I think you've got a few years left in you.
I can give you, and I'm happy for this to go on the record, I will never spend a birthday playing croquet, ever.
Yeah.
Challenge accepted.
Problem is, Adam, you and I will be well and truly dead by the time Michael gets
by
to
the time
point.
I might lose that bet.
That's
I
right.
won't be around to collect.
Do we have a safe word of the well? Let's start with audience feedback. That's where we normally start. Michael, any audience feedback this week?
We had one, and this one came from someone online by the name of Lou, and I just realised I don't actually know whether it's Lou short for Louise or Louisa or Lewis or Louis, so it could be a man or a woman, could be anyone really, but Lou...
may not even be Lou. It could be a friend. It could be a mother.
It might have been a
sister.
typo.
That's right.
So I'm off to a great start with this one. Anyway, they're enjoying the podcast, but they asked a question that we get asked a fair bit, which is, why is it called Fear and Greed? And so, Sean, is a perfect segue for you to tell us a little bit about Fear and Greed.
Well, the reason we came up with the name is that certainly in newsrooms in years gone by, if you weren't sure what to put on the front page, you put something to do with fear or something to do with greed on it. And of course, that's an axiom from the share market. I'm going to say Ben Graham. I might get that wrong, but one of the legendary investors used to talk about share markets being driven by fear and greed. And certainly in newspaper land many years ago, we used to talk about fear and greed. That's what we need on the front page. And if you think about it, most of the big stories, they are actually about money or fear. And, people complain about the media being too negative, but that's kind of that whole fear thing. Adamski, you've been in the media a long time. You were part of this decision. Good name.
I think it fits, and I still really like it. Of course, I'm heavily biased. As soon as you said it, Sean, I said, that's a good name for a podcast. And, I think it works. I think the truth of it is there's such primary motivations, and they definitely apply to business.
Mind you, it is sometimes hard when you go to advertisers. You say, can you advertise with us? We're called Fear and Greed. And they're like, I'm not so sure about that.
How quickly can a big corporation run in the other direction? Exactly.
Well, we welcome advertisers with a bit of foresight and probably a bit of trust that we know our audience, and so far it's working a treat.
We also welcome them with a bit of greed too.
Yeah, and fear that they'll leave us just quietly.
That's right. We've got the whole range of emotions there in dealing with advertisers.
Yeah, we call that service orientation.
Ah, yes.
Oh,
of
yes.
course. Yes.
Right. And this is why you do the spreadsheets.
Now, before we get onto the spreadsheets, Adamski needs his safe word for the week because we are lined up for you this week, Adam. Don't you worry. Have you got one for us?
I would say yet again you're lined up. It's kind of like a scene from Flying High, the great movie of decades ago. Anyway, my safe word
Groundhog Day.
suggestion of the week is horrible, horrible. And of course, that's a refrain of the question that Peter Van Onselen asked the Prime Minister at the Press Club speech this week. A reported text from 2 years ago from Gladys Berejiklian referring to the Prime Minister as a horrible, horrible person. So horrible, horrible.
Do we have to use them both, one after the other, to signify that it is in fact the safe word? If you just to say just horrible on its own. It's
that'll avoid any accidental kind of safe word use.
You've actually kind of built a safe word into the safe word. I'm impressed.
That's good. That's good. Hey, that was an amazing story. You know, the rest of it is that apparently Ms. Berejiklian texted a sitting Liberal cabinet minister, called him horrible, horrible, called the Prime Minister horrible, horrible. The minister then went back and said he's a complete psycho. As you mentioned, Peter Van Onselen then stood up in the National Press Club very publicly and asked the Prime Minister about it. He was blindsided totally. He had no idea. What it did get me thinking about is, the text messages that must go between politicians, and even the text messages we've sent and regretted, and I'm talking not in a personal sense here, but certainly, in a professional sense.
It's just what you've heard, Sean.
No, I remember once being on a panel for it was a job, and there were only 2 applicants, and the applicant that won, I sent that person a text saying, you were easily the better applicant, you had these skills, you were great, wonderful, think you're great, and promptly sent it to the other applicant. And, I sent it and I looked and went, well, I won't say oopsie. That's what I said. Well, what do you do? I mean, I just got out of my desk, walked to the other side of the room.
They can't come back, can they?
No, I just walked to the other side of the room and just sort of begged for forgiveness because it was just a horror.
You fessed up.
You just deny that you even sent it. No, deny. Just say, no, don't know what you're talking about.
Someone must have stolen my phone.
That's what I was hacked. That is the general excuse now for anything that's been sent. Just go, no, sorry, the account was hacked. But that's the thing that I don't get. Then that was an accident. Clearly, that was unintentional and probably a bit of a kind of an age-related fumble with your phone.
Age-related fumble.
I heard. What do you mean?
Another whack.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, can I just say one little adjunct to that story? The person who received the text was incredibly professional. In fact, I like that person ever since, simply because of the way she handled my buffoonery.
Still weren't good enough for you to give them the job, though.
Didn't change our mind, no.
Now, but I just don't get, that was an accident, but what people will put into a text or an email without ever considering the fact that this is a permanent record.
Yeah.
It is always going to be there. And especially in politics, things just have a way of getting out there. And so I don't know what goes through people's heads. And I don't know, and it's not just with Gladys Berejiklian and others. This happens all the time, and in business. Terrible emails that I've received. I'd like to think I haven't actually sent any, but really kind of nasty things that people will happily send via email or via text, and just without any consideration for the fact that they have just put something on the permanent record that could well be used against them at any point in the future. It's just stupid.
Yeah. Well, have you, Adam, ever sent out any communication? You ran a listed company. Have you ever sent out any communication that you just pressed send and then you thought, oh, oops, shouldn't have done that? Or even worse, everyone starts attacking you and you think, obviously didn't word that one very well. In a text sense, I don't know if this is age-related or not, but I've got very clumsy text technique. And so clumsy fingers.
Yes.
Great for croquet.
the autocorrect spelling is something that I haven't checked enough before I've hit send on that text. Quick, get it out. It's like, oh, no, quick. Now I need to send another one saying not that word, this word. Done that. Actually, a number of times.
Can I tell a little story about working with Adam, Sean?
Yes. Oh, yes.
So this goes to the deny approach. Relatively late one evening. It would have been about 10
Can
o'clock.
I issue a preemptive horrible at this point? Or just,
You cannot.
There's no such thing as
no
a preemptive.
Okay.
Denied.
No preemptive use of the safe word.
No.
So one night it was about 10 p.m. and it was on might have been a Friday evening. So
Bit late for me though.
I was at home and Adam at this stage was the CEO of the company that I was working for. And I received a call from Adam and it was a pocket dial. I suspected it was a pocket dial. And so I'm like, 10 o'clock at night. I don't know what that was. And I missed the call. And I texted him.
I think you might have missed it intentionally.
Oh, maybe. I knew
Just
it
so
wouldn't have
it
been
went to
anything good.
voicemail and go, I can listen to this.
So I texted Adam and said, did you just call me? I think I missed a call from you. And the reply came back, no, I did not call you. I'm like, well, you actually did because it appeared on my phone. There is a record of you calling me. The deny approach does not actually work when there is a record that you did it. So that's how I knew it was a pocket dial, because you had either no awareness of it or you had been at a very, very good and long dinner.
I apologise.
That's all right. I've been holding on to this one for a while.
But I apologise.
It does remind me, having worked with Adam for a long time, because he's such an affable, friendly person. You know, when you message Adam or you speak to him on the phone and you get like a 3-word answer or something like, no, I did not, you actually think you've sort of done something wrong, because normally Adam is so friendly and you just say, and he says no, it's like, what have I done wrong?
Sean, have you seen Brooklyn Nine-Nine, the TV show?
Great show.
And you know the, what is he, the commander or the chief?
Yeah.
And he is very, very polite, very courteous, very official in everything that he does. There is a fantastic scene where he is text messaging and they're in kind of a pursuit with somebody. And he is texting updates on kind of the suspect's location or something. And every text message he signs off with, best regards, and then his name. And I'm just watching this going, oh dear Lord, I'm watching Adam Lang.
Yeah, I've done that. More than once.
You're fired. Best regards, Adam Lang.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, let's get on to something, Michael, you've been talking about this week, interest rates, and Philip Lowe's call for people to have a buffer, as in to be able to pay back more than what they're actually paying back now.
Yeah, I thought this was an interesting one this week because we don't know when interest rates are going to go up. It could be later this year, it could be next year, but we know that at some point they are going to rise. They certainly can't stay at record lows for that much longer. And on average, households are apparently 4 years ahead on their mortgage repayments because a lot of people have been making the most of the record low rates, and we're talking variable rates with a 2 in front of them to kind of get ahead on their repayments while they can. But I was thinking that there must be a lot of people who are in the market now that may never have actually seen interest rates going up. They would have only ever seen them coming down or just staying at this record low level. So we're talking about kind of, that's any first home buyer who's bought since November 2010 would never have seen interest rates going up. That is a lot of people. And during that time, obviously, prices have been climbing significantly. So people trying to get into the market have been taking on larger and larger mortgages. So what I'd really love to know is kind of those, the first home buyers who've come into the market since 2010, how many of those people are ahead on their mortgage repayments? It kind of feels like there would be a lot of people who really had to kind of stretch themselves to get into the market, a bit of the FOMO. And whether those people are going to find themselves in a bit of trouble when rates do start to rise in the next year or so.
Can I jump in here? The last, since 2010, you said. When did you buy your first house?
2010.
There you go. Very, very close to home, this one.
No, well, also we bought in 2010 before there was a significant boom. So I'm thinking more about people in the last kind of 3 or 4 or 5 years who have probably paid significantly more than kind of we would have paid at that time. I suppose in the to kind of offset that, there are very few people who would not have had significant appreciation in the value of their home. So if they were forced to sell, at least they're probably not going to be in the situation of owing more to the bank than the property is actually worth, unless prices start to drop.
Yeah, I mean, but people don't want to sell their house, and your point is...
No.
Everyone pushes themselves to the limit. And so when rates start to rise, and they will rise either late this year or next year, then you're just going to... People will struggle, I reckon. Did you know Phil Lowe himself, the governor, said he didn't have a mortgage. He's paid his off. And he was asked whether he would fix or float his the interest rate if he had a home loan. And he actually said, well, I haven't really thought much about that. Which is kind of a nice position to be in, really, when you don't have to worry about it.
I suppose it is, and it is good advice to have that buffer that he was recommending, but it's probably also a bit late for anyone now to hear that advice and go, oh, Christ, I better get a buffer in place. Better try and pay off a bit more of the mortgage. You've only got probably 6 months or 12 months or something before rates start climbing, so it's going to be a pretty slender buffer, isn't it?
Did you know I once house sat Philip Lowe's house?
No.
Many years ago.
No. Okay.
What can you tell us, Sean?
Oh, no, I mean, I knew Phil Lowe many years ago when I worked at the Reserve Bank, and he's gone on to do wonderful things, and I'm here with you two. But I knew him very well back then. And he was going away for 6 months, and I needed somewhere to live in the eastern suburbs of Sydney, and I was going to university over that way. And so I house at his house for 6 months. My younger brother and I stayed in Phil's house. And what I remember, I dare say he's moved on since then. It was a terrace house. What I do remember are the number of plants that I had to water all the time.
Oh, really? Because I kind of have this image, and I suppose I'm probably stereotyping for the governor of the Reserve Bank, but I picture a lot of mahogany everywhere.
Very unfairly, I've got to tell you.
Stoic paintings.
That's right. I mean, look, Phil Lowe obviously has gone on, and I haven't had a lot to do with him in recent years or anything. But back then, he's a really nice fella, and he actually had great taste. And his now wife, then girlfriend, she obviously helped him decorate the place because it was just with plants and sort of bringing outside in. And I don't think I'd ever lived, I was in my 20s, I don't think I'd ever lived in anywhere near as nice.
Not bad for a university share house, Sean.
I think he was beyond that. But yeah, it was pretty good for me. The parties we had and didn't tell him about.
I was going to say that would have been quite extraordinary, the parties. And just running around putting coasters under everybody's drinks. And
no smoking inside.
Please.
Damsky, do you have anything to say on this interest rate caper?
Look, it is remarkable. So my first real estate purchase was really 20 odd years ago. And so, we've gone through probably overall in that time, obviously interest rates have never been lower. So it's been a fairly good run. And we thought then when we were buying that we'd had, booms and hardship and trying to afford the market. It's become harder. There's no question. As a multiple of average wage is what you need to buy a property. I think the sacrifices and choices that people make or choose to make or choose not to make to buy a property are going to be very different. And I think to Michael's point, the last 5 years, what we've seen with the habits of buying property, probably going to be very different to those in the next 5 years.
Yeah. You're listening to Fear and Greed, the Sunday show. We'll be back with more in a minute. Adamski, you were interested in the Andrew Forrest versus Facebook spat this week. I thought that was a cracker.
Yeah, this has been a subject of discussion for a couple of years. So we might have seen all of us on social media, including on Facebook, these dodgy-looking cryptocurrency ads, and they use various people, celebrities, business figures in their imagery to make it look like they endorse this product, which they don't. Many of these are just completely ripped off. Now, Andrew Forrest was one of those, and back in 2019, he started complaining to Facebook that these were not legitimate. He did not endorse them, and he asked them to remove them. They haven't done it. So this week, Andrew Forrest is taking legal action on behalf of victims, including himself. Now, that's one part of the story because obviously he's got a massive profile and a very high capacity to afford an expensive legal case against Facebook. But alongside that, the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission is investigating Facebook as well, with the aim of bringing federal court proceedings. So these sponsored posts on Facebook are about to become a really hot legal issue.
Yeah, I think Mr. Forrest is basically claiming that Facebook has failed to have proper systems or culture to prevent the site being used to perpetuate these scams. Very difficult for social media sites. I mean, social media sites have a responsibility, and I don't think they've taken that particularly seriously, but this is a great case where, you think the social media giants are going to have to do something.
I agree, Sean. I mean, so publishers in this country, be they a newspaper, television, radio, online, or linear broadcast, they are responsible for what they publish. But the social media giants obviously are not citizens and companies of Australia. They exist everywhere. And in the digital realm, they've been beyond any of these sorts of regulations, or many of these sorts of regulations. So this is a really interesting test case.
Do you reckon many people are actually clicking on it?
Oh, I think they do.
Oh, people have. Andrew Forrest reported that one lady wrote saying she had lost more than $100,000 because she believed in this advertising, because his name and face were being used. She thought it was credible. And this in a week where Meta and Facebook have had a pretty interesting run. I mean, Sean, I know you've seen this week in particular some share price movements around the Meta platforms.
Oh, it fell 24% in after-hours trading, I think, on Thursday morning Australian time, because basically came out and said growth in users had stalled. It's got 2.91 billion monthly users. Not bad, but it's stalled, and earnings had been hit, and so had revenue. Big part of the problem, apparently, is people are shifting to TikTok primarily and YouTube, taking users from Facebook. Now, this all comes as the boss of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, is shifting strategy towards the metaverse, kind of that virtual world that he's talking a lot about. There's also all these changes from Apple, which is affecting lots and lots of social media outlets who use advertising for revenue. Basically, Apple are trying to improve the privacy of iPhone users, and that's hurt Facebook's advertising products. So there's a lot going on for Meta, the company that runs Facebook, which it's going to have to contend with just for a little bit, and a 24% slump in its share price. Wow, that's massive.
That's a massive whack. Imagine that, only reaching 2.91 billion people. A little something for fear and greed to consider there.
Yeah, a lofty goal. Sean, do you use Facebook much?
No.
And Adam?
Yes, Michael.
Do you remember...
Do you like this point here, Adam, where you're not sure whether Michael is setting you up or me up? So when it comes to technology...
I know he's setting someone up.
Yeah, we know that he's setting someone up, but both of us are just waiting to see where it falls. Go on, Mickey.
Well, Adam...
Yes, Michael.
About 18 months ago or so, or 2 years ago, you successfully spammed all of your friends and contacts on Facebook by subjecting them to, what was it, about 500 days of the top 500 albums that influenced your life, where you prepared it all in a spreadsheet, and every day there would be a new album that would appear on there.
With the album cover, which I thought was probably the most impressive part of that social media effort from
Well, look,
Adamski.
small correction. It was only my top 150 albums, and I limited it to one per day, which I thought was very compassionate.
Any Bee Gees?
Actually, yes. Saturday Night Fever soundtrack when I was a young'un. My God, what a great soundtrack.
I like the way that you said that you limited it to 150 days. That is 5 months worth of daily spam that you pumped out onto Facebook.
There's plenty more to come. I'll unleash them this year.
Excellent.
Maybe we could get you onto TikTok and you could spam TikTok users on behalf of Fear and Greed.
TikTok music channel, here I come.
Perhaps 6 seconds of croquet.
Oh, yes. Can we please? I don't know whether croquet is big on TikTok yet.
Oh, not yet.
It will be.
All right. Challenge accepted.
Well, actually, Adam, you have the ticket to kind of social media success. Well, it's not running around in your backyard because you won't let her out of the house. But Maggie.
Of course.
Yes.
Puppies go very, very well on social
suggesting
media.
I exploit little Maggie for Fear and Greed?
You exploited music and you exploited all of your friends. So why wouldn't you exploit a puppy?
Fair enough. Done.
Hey, look, we're running out of time. I just want to quickly mention Partygate in the UK. Is this not one of the great stories
What
of
a car crash.
recent times? For those who haven't been following it, Boris Johnson, the UK Prime Minister, has been criticised for holding parties at 10 Downing Street, basically with lots of people not following COVID conventions, certainly in contravention of his own rules. Initially, he said, no, they didn't happen. And then about 70 witnesses and 300 photos made him change his mind to say, well, maybe they did happen, but I really wasn't involved in it. And then at least 4 of the parties involved pictures of him, including his own birthday party, which he had to concede. Maybe I did attend.
I wasn't there.
He may lose his job over it, but how wacky.
I don't get how he thought, you know what, I'm going to take a leaf out of the Adam Lang deny playbook here and just say that I had nothing to do with it and no knowledge of it and it didn't happen. When everyone has a smartphone these days, everyone is taking photos of everyone, and it is clearly him in those pictures. And it was his own birthday party, for crying out loud.
He must be a big fan of Monty Python, because this is just farcical.
Well said.
Absolutely. Let's leave it there. Boris, you're entertaining all of us. Good on you. I think that brings us to the end of the show, Mickey and Adamski. That's about it. Thank you very much for listening to Fear and Greed, the Sunday edition. Michael, enjoy your day. What are you up to today?
Croquet.
I don't know yet, Sean, but I can assure you it will not be croquet.
Michael, you're giving Adam a very hard time about croquet, but every time we ask you what you're up to, it's like, oh, I don't know.
Well, no, the thing is, I thought you would have learnt this by now. Never tell anybody anything, and then they can't use it against you.
Adamski, what are you doing today?
Look, there's school sport and club sport back on, so we've got a festival of cricket to attend and some good socialising to do.
Are you into lacrosse, Adam? Just kind of seems a very kind of Lang sport.
No. Look, I've never played lacrosse, but I do know a few lacrosse players who loved playing it. And I thought, God, if I grew up in an area where it was, I probably would have given it a crack.
It feels kind of like a young person's croquet, doesn't it?
It is full contact, Michael, lacrosse. So if you had tackling involved in croquet, then maybe that would be a good comparison.
Well, you're not going to do that because you'll break a hip.
The Lang backyard when we get over there shortly.
Even as we're saying farewell, Michael's still getting the boot in a couple of times.
He might be disinvited to this function we're going to at your place in a week's time
he'll be
or so.
invited. We'll just put him behind a glass screen where he can't get any sustenance.
Let's leave it there, fellas. It's Sunday, the 6th of February, 2022. I'm Sean Aylmer. We all hope you enjoyed the show today. Have a great Sunday.